Hello, everybody. I think I will talk in English. That was the plan. Yeah? Okay, good. Then I switch into English. I have 10 minutes. There is another talk about 10 minutes as well. And I try to address some of the positions that are international housing initiatives. Next slide, please. Next slide. Peter? Yeah, there he is. I guess most of you know who and what DOCOMOMO is, but just for those who don't know it, we are an NGO, we are a non-governmental, we are not ECOMOS, we are not linked to politics, we are a club of volunteers who take care of the documentation, conservation of building sites and neighborhoods of the modern movement. Next slide, please. We have been founded 30 years ago in the Netherlands, back then in Eindhoven, by our, let's say, honorary president Hubert Jan Henkert, at that time a professor in Eindhoven. And together with Hilde Heinen from KU Leuven, he has written this book Back to Utopia about 20 years ago, in which I like to give one quote that was actually already the essence, I think, in our first keynote panel discussion this morning. So I will read it. The goal of modern movement in architecture is to create a better built environment for all through rational, functional implementation of technological, scientific and cultural innovation. And I think, again, we hear here these threefold aspects of what we would maybe call sustainability today, but the most important is we talk about innovation, and innovation means we look positively into the future and we believe in a kind of vision. So it's very important for us to say it's not a style, although aesthetics and play a role, but it is a way of thinking. It is the fulfillment of social values, and I think this was very important this morning, and an expression of hope and optimism. And that is how we would like to look into the future. Next slide, please. Just to let you know, as of today, we have 79 member states, national working parties, which are marked in blue here. And hopefully in our conference at the end of this year, which will take place in Santiago de Chile, we will hopefully have 5 or 6 more working parties. We have 3 countries from the Balkans, so from Southeast Europe, Portugal, and hopefully 2 new African members. So it shows a bit the outreach and also the different perspectives and different modernities we look at. And next slide. And just one thing that is very important for me and for us, since I'm sharing DOCOMOMO since 2022, that we are really busy in digitizing all our material. We have a 30-year tradition of different publications, and the DOCOMOMO journal is completely open online and open access and peer-reviewed. And we have a lot of material on the settlements and of the modern movement. Next slide, please. I would like to highlight this one because it directly links us to the topic of this conference. We published this journal, Middle Class Mass Housing, together with a cost action. You are familiar with the European Cost Actions Cooperation in Science and Technology, which was held from 2019 to 2023 with more than 35 member states. So coming back to our international aspects, it's not about the East, it's about the West and the East, it's about North and South. So 35 countries participated in this research. And in our editorial, we really highlighted this search for what is maybe the common sense between this European society when it comes to housing, what might also be differences. Next slide, please. And you can, of course, have a look to the publications we did in the context of that cost action, which is also threefold. The blue book is about examples. It's about the architectural aspects. The red one is highlighting and addressing the sociological questions. What are places of identity in different cultures of Europe? And I think that might be very important because we also face different nationalities within one country, different ways of understanding how to create neighborhoods and communities, and the Green Book, which refers to policies. There is also a children book, next slide please, with beautiful sketches that also show on maybe how similar these settlements are across the world, but I would like to highlight one aspect. Look at the outdoor space. Look at the connection that is there between buildings and the public realm. Next slide. I will not address the different charters. Robert already did that, and the right of housing. Let's just click through the slides relatively quickly. We can find the same expression everywhere. Next slide, the Hansa-Viertel, a Portuguese case. Next slide, an Italian case with a different expression, and very famous, a Dutch case. I like to refer back already more than 13 years ago. DOCOMOMO was addressing the possibilities of transformation and was talking about the resource efficiency and also the flexibility. We heard it this morning, these settlements have. Next slide, please. And this is a reason why we really would like to talk about the values, the historical values of those settlements, but also the potential for transformation. In 2021, the first DOCOMOMO Rehabilitation Award was named, and this is the very famous example of the Cité de Lignon in Geneva. That is a huge settlement which actually has heritage status, but again, DOCOMOMO stands for the heritage, but for the iconic building, but also for the ordinary buildings. Our mission is we can learn from heritage buildings for the ordinary. Next slide. At the same time, 2021, the Pritzker Prize was given to Lacaton Vassal, and also here we can see how these transformations can be approached. Next slide. And the very famous sentence of Lacaton Vassal, never demolish, subtract or replace, but always add, transform and reuse. I guess this will be a topic we will have during this conference. Where do we have to reduce, or is there a bigger potential in not reducing? Next slides, please. Next slide. Yes, and another mission which might also keep us busy, what is the role of education of universities? It was addressed shortly in Delft, but also in my life in Detmold. Next slide, please. We deal with these questions. Students have to learn how to approach these complex, holistic things, how to deal with embedded energy, how to deal with different demographic challenges. And Robert was addressing it, maybe also to learn how to deal with communal, with politics, with the stakeholders in the society and in real life. Next slide, please. So again, the question and the principles of the garden city, the principles of social infrastructure, our building minister was also, Clara Geibitz was also referring to it, the intersection between the private space of the house, of the flat, of the apartment, in combination with the social infrastructure and the public or semi-public space is one crucial aspect that we have to address and that we have to teach as professors in universities and in practice. Next slide, please. Two aspects I like to mention, maybe they are not known. Last year we have signed the Frankfurt Declaration on Housing in the Paulskirche in a very prominent place during our DOCOMOMO Germany conference, together with the Architecture Museum, but also supported by the City of Frankfurt, which you may know has applied also the Ernst May settlements as a World Heritage Site at that time. Two more, next slide please. I just highlighted some of these goals that we have, and you say our credo is nothing is worthless. We address politics, Please feel free to sign the declaration. You can Google it by Frankfurt Declaration through the DOCOMOMO website. And next slide. I also like to mention that there is a very new manifesto will be published in the Netherlands by the NRP. NRP stands for National Renovation Platform, which exactly addresses the same things. Yeah, to make a more efficient use of the building, of the existing buildings and of the unraveled potentials of the existing built environment. Next slide. And this was my short statement. Thank you so much. Nearly 10 minutes, a little bit more. And I'm looking forward to our discussions. Thank you.